Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And this is Tamur, and this is my channel, The Cloud Security Guy, where I talk regularly about things like cloud security, AI, and general cybersecurity career advice. So today I want to talk about the CCSP and specifically practice questions. I want to go over a few practice questions with you that will help you get into the mindset for the CCSP certification. Now, I know preparing for certifications can be tough, right? And you need, like I've always said, you need to like learn the concepts and you need to practice. In fact, I would say practicing is more important than just what you call studying the concepts, because the practice questions will tell you and really make you ready for the examination. So that's what I want to go about today. I made a complete course on the CCSP, which you can check on my channel also. Completely free. It goes through all the domains. It's not the best course in the world right now. I'm not saying that, but it will help you learn a few concepts and clarify, hopefully, and it will hopefully help you get ready for the examination also. Before we move ahead, guys, please do like and subscribe to this channel. That will really help the channel to grow, and share this video if you found it useful. So before we move ahead, and of course, one thing, always a disclaimer I give: the purpose of this video is to help you. It's not like going to make you magically pass the CCSP examination. You need to put in the work. Okay, that disclaimer I always give to make sure that people have the right expectations when they start this video. So with all that said, now let's start. Let's go over a few test CCSP questions. Okay, so let's look at the first question. Now, which concept best describes the capability of a cloud environment to automatically scale a system or application based on its current resource demands? Now, one tip which I always give, and I've given before also, please do not look at the answers immediately. What I want you to do is I want you to look at the question and then formulate the answer in your mind. What do you think is the answer to this? And then look at the options which are available. That'll help you a lot, because with these best and most and least type of questions, in which everything is correct. Now, here, so it's asking you which is the thing which describes best the capability of a cloud environment to scale up and down based on the resource demands, right? If an application is experiencing more traffic, it'll the what do you call, the system will be scaled up, more resources will be added, or if it's less, it'll scale down, right? So it can't be on demand self service, right? Because that's just, you can go to a console and provision things as you want. That's the good thing about the cloud. So it's that's not the service. Resource pooling is when it's shared. Okay, the cloud basically provider pools everything across and shares it across its customers. Measured service is the fact that you can use cloud computing like electricity, right? Paid for that. So if you eliminate everything, the answer is, of course, rapid elasticity, right? And it basically, that's what it's talking about, the ability to automatically add or remove resources from a system or application based on the demand, based on what demand is there. So that's one of the best things about the cloud, right? If the demand is there, the resources will go up. If the demand is less, it will go down. Now, so, and just to go over a few concepts, self-service, this is what I was talking about. So self-service is, you can provision things as you want. You can simply go to the console, provision a server, provision storage as you want. That's the best thing about the cloud, right? You don't have to depend on like a human administrator. Resource pooling. Resource pooling is, you're basically, it abstracts away the servers, the physical resources, puts them in the pool, the cloud service provider, and then gives it to you as you need it. Measured service is again the ability to use cloud computing resources like electricity, right? You're using it like electricity, like say, what do you call, water. You're paying for only for what you need. Again, that is what do you call, the concept of measured service. And of course, that leads us to the last thing, which is rapid elasticity. It allows you to scale up and scale down completely automatically. If you've ever worked with AWS, load balancing, you can actually put in things, and so it'll get more service will get added, more services will get added, and if it goes down, it'll take away. So that's one of the best things. This is called elastic unit, stretching like a rubber band. It's stretching as you need it. So that was the first. This was a pretty straightforward question. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one is, what is the primary goal of a zero trust security model in a cloud environment? So let's okay, this is not as straightforward. So to encrypt all data at rest and transit, no. I mean, that's not the primary goal. It is there. That's the To eliminate the need for a VPN. That's a very, very powerful benefit of zero trust. But again, that's not the only. That's not the main goal. To never trust, always verify. That is one of the core foundational principles of zero trust. I would say this is the one. And the last is to implement intrusion detection systems. No, that's definitely not it. So it could be either two or three, but it'll be three. because two is one of the benefits. Okay, you get. Number one is a feature. I mean, it's like one of the things you do. Yeah, so it is to never trust, always verify. This is the concept of zero trust. Like the old days of cybersecurity, you would say trust but verify. And with zero trust, it is never trust, always verify. Never assume any trust for any device, whether it is inside or outside the environment. You assume everything is potentially compromised, and then you verify it based on the principles you've defined within zero trust. So remember that. Okay, number three, in a cloud environment, what is the main purpose of federated identity management? So this is interesting. To enable multi-factor authentication, no, that's a benefit. It's not the main purpose. To allow single sign-on across multiple systems, yeah, that I would say that would be the primary benefit. To enforce strong password policies, again, this is an advantage you get. This is not the primary purpose. To monitor user behavior and detect anomalies, again, a benefit, not the main purpose. Okay, you remember that you have to be very careful. They will try to trick you. All of these questions are at least one, three, and four. They are benefits you get, but they're not the primary purpose. Okay, what federated identity management, it allows for the linking of computing and different platforms to the use of trust. Like you get single sign on, which simplifies user access across different systems. So you get MFA, strong password policies, and monitoring user behavior, but the main thing is single sign on. Okay, now which of the following is not typically a responsibility of a cloud customer in a shared responsibility model? Physical security of the data center, data encryption, application security, identity and access management. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. Honestly speaking, if you have ever worked in the cloud, you know that the data center you don't have to worry about, right? It is completely the responsibility of the cloud provider. And one thing I would definitely recommend to you guys, please take a good long look at the shared responsibility model within the cloud when you go for the exam, because when it comes to on-premise, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, what are your responsibilities and what are the responsibilities of the cloud provider? This way it will really help you to know, and these questions will come in, right? So obviously, regardless of what model you use, you do not have to worry about the data center. That is all the responsibility of the cloud provider. Okay, number five is, what is the main concern of data sovereignty in a cloud computing context? So, data sovereignty is, like, if you ever hear this phrase, this is basically you don't want data leaving your borders, right? So, I mean, data encryption is one of the reasons one of the controls you put in. Data residency, I would say this is the correct answer. Data transfer speeds have nothing to do with it, nor data duplication. Yeah, the data sovereignty, it refers to the concept that data is subject to the laws and governance structures of the country in which it resides. So if you're in the UK, you have those laws. If you're in the Middle East, those laws come in, right? You have to comply with the local laws, especially for data that crosses borders. In some cases, you might not even require it. Number six, which of the following cloud storage types is least suitable for storing highly sensitive data? Okay, remember least. It's not saying none of them is suitable. It's saying which is the least suitable. So object storage, file storage, block storage. Honestly, you can store sensitive data, any of them. Public cloud storage. Yeah, this is definitely, if you have cardholder data like PCI DSS, GDPR, you don't want to put them on a public S3 bucket, right? That wouldn't make sense at all. So this is pretty straightforward. I think that's a very simple question to answer. Which of the following IAM features is least effective in preventing unauthorized access to a cloud service? Okay, this is interesting. Least effective in preventing unauthorized access, okay, to a cloud service. So multi-factor authentication, that definitely helps a lot. Role-based access control, it locks it down, right? Your access is single sign-on. Interesting. Now, single sign-on, I would not say this helps. This is effective, but it's not as effective as the other things. And password complexity. So remember, actually, single sign-on. One of the criticism of single sign-on is if your user ID or password is compromised, the attacker will get access to all the services which are there. So this is a very interesting question, a bit tricky, okay? Because all of them in their ways they do help, but remember he's asking for the least. So I would say, yeah, it's single sign-on. Remember, single sign-on, it improves the user experience, right? Because it lets the user log in once and access multiple services. But its primary security control is not to prevent unauthorized access. Because, like I said, if they gain access to your SSO credential, they can potentially access multiple services. Whereas MFA, RBAC, password complexity, all of them will help you to prevent unauthorized access. And this is like the whole point of single sign-on, right? If you have these multiple cloud services, it'll be a nightmare to manage all of them separately. With single sign-on, you can have a single credential. All of these things you will be able to access. So definitely, but the whole point of this is to streamline the user experience, to simplify policies, to standardize, not to prevent unauthorized access. Okay, that's a benefit. It's not the primary goal of SSO compared to the other ones. Okay, what else is there? What it must be secured on physical hardware to prevent unauthorized access to systems. Okay, so I mean, if you ever worked with computers, this is pretty easy to answer. It's definitely not 234 SSH, RDP, ALOM, SSH, RDP. Those are all protocols, right? BIOS is the one of the physical security controls which you implement to prevent somebody from getting unauthorized access to systems. And I covered this in detail in my CCSP course, right? So you need to make sure, there are many, like, what do you call, BIOS, basic input output system. It's like a firmware, right, that initializes and it tests computer hardware when you boot it up, right? It's the first piece of code that runs on the machine when it's powered on. And everything, like, they have BIOS settings that must be configured. So that's why it is incredibly powerful, because it's the first code that runs. And successful compromise of the BIOS, it will be very difficult to detect, and it can have a major impact on your system security. So that's why in cloud environments, or in any environment actually, the BIOS can impact the functioning and security of things like the hypervisor. And usually they have trusted platform modules. All of these I've discussed in detail in my CCSP course. So check that out. Which of the following regulations is least concerned with data privacy? Okay, interesting question. GDPR is pretty much privacy itself. HIPAA is against privacy. PCI DSS, I mean, it does concern itself with privacy. Little security, it's more concerned with cardholder security and Sabanis Oxley. Okay, so this is interesting. It can be either PCI DSS or SOX. Now, PCI DSS directly does not pertain to security, sorry, privacy. It pertains to cardholder data security. And Sabanis Oxley, but it has absolutely nothing to do with data privacy, honestly. It has more to do with financial disclosures and, yeah, so financial reporting, corporate governance, those sort of things. The other regulations are more focused, like PCI DSS, it is focused on data protection, and that complements data privacy. Okay, number 10. Which of the following is most likely to be characteristic of an APT in a cloud environment? Remember, most likely. So, technically, all of them are characteristics. So, high volume brute force attacks. I would not say an APT would do this, honestly, because that's a very beginner level thing to do. An APT would get detected in 5 seconds. Rapidly changing IP addresses. Yeah, that is a feature of an APT. Long term stealthy presence. Yeah, therefore, this is the one of the biggest characteristics. And exploiting zero day vulnerabilities only. No, that's not necessary. Honestly, APT cannot, like, it can exploit known vulnerabilities also. So it would be either two or three. Yeah, it's three. So this was a bit tricky. I would have thought it's either two or three. But yeah, APTs are known for their long term presence, stealthy presence, right? They are sophisticated. Usually they are state sponsored. And their defining characteristic, yeah, they would be long term stealthy presence. So I was a bit wrong here. I said it could be two or three. It's three, definitely. Okay, what is the primary security concern associated with hypervisor escape vulnerabilities? So this is interesting. Hypervisor, if you know, it is one of the fundamental building blocks of a cloud computing environment. So unauthorized access to guest VMs, data leakage between guest VMs, a guest VM gaining control over the hypervisor, and weak encryption algorithms. So one and two, it is one of the concerns, but not the primary concern. And four, I don't think so this has anything to do with it. It would be three, because this is what it's talking about, right? So a guest VM, it's in a sandbox, right? It breaks out of that sandbox and gains access to the hypervisor. This is why we are so concerned about. Yeah. So basically, it allows a guest virtual machine to break out of its sandbox and gain control of the hypervisor, and then it can potentially impact all the other VMs which are running there. So remember what virtualization is, right? It divides the physical server into virtual resources like servers, desktops, and hypervisor is the layer that makes sure that the physical hardware and the virtual resources, that the VMs, they all separated. And this is where the hypervisor security, as a CCSP, you need to understand this, right? So the hypervisor, it's an additional piece of hardware or software that's between the host and each guest. And this is the attack service which people can, like, potentially gain access to. So hypervisor security is critically important. And escape vulnerabilities are like one of the biggest issues, where, somebody can escape the sandbox and gain and compromise other cloud customers data. All of this, again, I've gone into detail in my CCSP domain. You can check that out. Okay, in a serverless architecture, what is the least relevant security control? Operating system patch management, function level input. Okay, this is pretty easy. So if you're not familiar with serverless, it's basically code that you run. You don't have to worry about anything, right? And of course, it will be operating system patch management because there is no operating system to worry about, right? In a serverless architecture, the cloud provider manages the underlying infrastructure, including the operating system. Therefore, patch management, you don't really have to worry about. This is, you can take a look at, this is like AWS Lambda, right? They're a serverless offering. So it handles everything. AWS handle all the foundational elements, the operating system, application platform. It's pretty cool. So you don't have to worry about patching or anything. You just have to worry about the code and access to that code. So identity and access management, what libraries, the security of the code, this is what you have to worry about, but everything else, the cloud provider will take a look at. Okay, in a zero trust cloud environment, which of the following is least relevant for defining access controls? So this is cool. I mean, all of them are, but user identity, device health, network location, time of access. So I think if you know what zero trust is, this is quite easy to understand. User identity and device health, they are definitely things which you need to consider when giving access. Time of access, network location, yeah, no, because in zero trust, like I said, there is no trust, right? And it's like never trust, always verify. So it doesn't matter where the device is located, where the user is located, when it comes to defining your access controls. So yeah, definitely this is what it would be. Okay, what else? Which of the following security controls is the least effective in a containerized cloud environment? Host-based firewalls, container orchestration, security policies, image vulnerability scanning, runtime security monitoring. If you know anything about containers, 3 and 4 are quite critical. Okay. Container orchestration security policies, yes. So actually, it's quite simple, host based. Why? Because you know how containers work, right? In a containerized, they often communicate with each other horizontally, and they bypass the host firewall. So you need to put in other controls like orchestration, image scanning, runtime monitoring. Like containers, they talk to each other horizontally. Remember that. So the host firewall would not even know if the communication was happening. Okay, 15. Which of the following is least likely to be part of a cloud security policy? Data retention, incident response, cost management. Okay, and identity and access management. So this is pretty honestly. Number 3, cost management strategies. This would probably be part of a cloud policy, but nothing to do with the cloud security policy, honestly speaking. While cost management is important, it is not usually a component of a cloud security policy, which is, that focuses more on the technical and the procedural aspects when it comes to securing cloud environments. In a cloud native application, what is the most effective way to secure third party components and libraries? Okay, this is interesting. Most effective way. Code reviews are there. Yeah, definitely vendor assessment, software composition analysis, patch management. I would say it's number 3, which is software composition analysis. Why? Because that is dedicated to finding out the vulnerabilities in your third party code. You know, it focuses specifically on identifying third party components and libraries. Code reviews are important, but remember you don't have access to the code. Vendor assessment, yeah, that would be important. Patch management, yeah, definitely. But yeah, software composition as for things like Log4j and all those other things, this is where software composition analysis would come in. Sorry, I accidentally clicked. Yeah, the whole point of SCA is to detect vulnerabilities in third party components. Okay, remember that. Okay, which of the following is least relevant when assessing the security posture of a potential cloud service provider? Okay, this is interesting. Compliance certifications are important, number 1. Physical security measures, yeah, I mean, you need to know. Company financial stability, okay, that is important, but I don't think it has to do with the security posture. And data encryption standards which they're following, I would say, yeah, it's number 3 only. Because financial stability of a company is important. Obviously you don't want them going bankrupt when you've moved everything there, but that has to do more with the operational side and long-term engagement. It really doesn't have anything to do with the security posture directly. Indirectly yes, but directly no. And lastly, what is the primary advantage of using microsegmentation in a zero trust cloud environment? Okay, this is interesting. Improved network performance, reduce attack surface, simplified network configuration, reduce cost. So that's pretty easy. It would be number 2, I would say. Yeah, because you need to understand what microsegmentation is, right? It gives you very, very effective control over the attack surface. So I just want to explain this. When you talk about firewalls, right? Firewalls, they inspect north to south traffic, right? Which is going vertically, which is crossing the security parameter. So, and the things which are within the network parameter, those are trusted, which means that east-west tractor, workload to workload traffic. it may give without inspection. And this is where the problem comes in if somebody compromises it. So this is where microsegmentation comes in, because what people usually do, they divide the network into small subnets, right? But again, even within a sensitive subnet, it is possible somebody has compromised it. They might be able to access horizontally move. So this is where microsegmentation comes in and reduces the attack surface, right? It reduces the potential attack surface of a data breach by limiting the ability of attackers to move laterally through a network. You can put in logical firewalls which can change depending on, it can isolate your workloads, and really it can be set up dynamically to come in and remove, right? It gives you a lot of visibility, and it really gives you, like, reduces the attack surface. And this is especially present within zero trust environments, because microsegmentation, it again enforces the concept of zero trust. Just because a person is inside a sensitive subnet, that does not mean they can now look at all the servers which are there. So you need to put in microsegmentation to really make sure that those concepts of zero trust are there. Okay, I think that wraps it up, guys. I hope this was useful to you. I hope it gave you a good idea about the type of questions that will come in. If you're still interested, check out my whole course, which is there on my channel. And do share this video. If you found it useful, please, if it helps anybody to pass the CCSP, that would be awesome. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.